If you just joined us, we're looking at the public relations disaster that came out of the Vatican last week with the release of a midterm report prematurely, got to the press, and it had a bunch of things in it that had to do with contraception, with marriage, with divorce, with communion. Three of the paragraphs that are getting most of the coverage were paragraph 50, 51, 52. I will now read paragraph 52. Without denying the moral problems associated with homosexual unions, there are instances where mutual assistance to the point of sacrifice is a valuable support in the life of these persons. Furthermore, the Church pays special attention to children who live with same-sex couples and stresses that the needs and rights of the little ones must always be given priority. Well, without question, children in these situations is going to require incredible pastoral care. But the issue becomes the scandal to other people in the community, to other children. I mean, think about it. If you're in a local church, from whatever denomination you're from, and a so-called same-gender couple comes with their children, what impact does that have on other kids? What message does it send? What value? I mean, how can you say, well, this is a beautiful thing? Or do you say, well, no, this is disordered. This is wrong. This is unethical. And this is harming those children. How do you then deal with the children? On a pastoral level? On a sacramental level? All right, let me read to you what the Catechism says. Then I'll read to you the Pope's words, which will show why there's still difficulty. Catechism, I found this today, 2357, says, homosexuality refers to relations between men or between women who experience an exclusive or predominant sexual attraction toward persons of the same sex. It has taken a great variety of forms through the centuries and in different cultures. Its psychological genesis remains largely unexplained. Basing itself on sacred scriptures, which presents homosexual acts as acts of grave depravity, tradition has always declared that, quote, homosexual acts are intrinsically disordered. They are contrary to the natural law. They close the sexual act to the gift of life. They do not proceed from a genuine, affective, and sexual complementarity. Under no circumstances can they be approved. All right? That rings, that thunders. It's clear. Compare that to those three paragraphs, and you can see why those three paragraphs reflect a departure from that. Now, what does the phrase intrinsically disordered mean? Here is one definition that I found online. It says, grounded in the natural law, the Church notes that while the sexual attraction to the female classmate of a man can be and is naturally ordered toward his good, the sexual attraction to his male classmate cannot be ordered toward his good. This is what the Church means when it uses the term disorder. This came from a section that said, look, if there's a college male and he's attracted to a college female, it could lead him to sin, but it could also lead him to marriage and holiness and having children, right? So it's ordered to lead him towards something good. Whereas an attraction to a person of the same gender is always disordered because if it leads to an act, the act is sinful or evil or disordered. Now, here's what the Pope said in his closing remarks to the bishops and the lay people that were there. And this, by the way, his speech was made public, all right? They were very open and transparent about this, which had people happy. Here are the Pope's words, which, as you'll see, I'll tell you ahead of time, they're already causing confusion. He talked about temptations that they will now face as a result of this synod. He said, one, a temptation to hostile inflexibility. That is, wanting to close oneself within the written word, the letter, and not allowing oneself to be surprised by God, by the God of surprises, the Spirit, within the law, within the certitude of what we know, and not of what we still need to learn and to achieve. From the time of Christ, it is the temptation of the zealous, of the scrupulous, of the solicitous, and of the so-called today traditionalists, and also of the intellectuals. Then he talked about another temptation, the temptation to a destructive tendency to goodness. In the Italian, it's buonismo. That in the name of deceptive mercy binds the wounds without first curing them and treating them, that treats the symptoms and not the causes and the roots. It is the temptation of the do-gooders, of the fearful, and also of the so-called progressives and liberals. So from the position of a layman, it looks like he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. Are we upholding, is our temptation that we're going to be too rigid, that we're going to uphold the scriptures and we're going to uphold church law, or is the temptation that we're going to have a deceptive mercy? I don't get it. So this is causing shockwaves around the world. When we come back, I'm going to read to you a few words that a priest said who was directly impacted by this in his community within the last week as a direct result of the synod. Don't go away.